What's up, YouTubers? I just wanted to talk to you about the latest episode from Johnny Mueller. Let me think now. The Expat Files living in Latin America. Anyways, in the latest episode Johnny put out, he talks about how the U.S. government's making it harder for us expats to expat and get our residency and second passports. And that does seem to be the case. Luckily for me, I started my residency about a year ago, so I was just starting to be effective with some of these new rules and regulations. I had to go in and get my passport notarized at the embassy here in Guatemala, which wasn't really hard enough. It was just a pain in the neck. And with some of the new rules now, you have to register online before you can even go into the embassy. Anyways, in this episode of Johnny Mueller's The Expat Files, he talks about how if you owe money to the IRS can confiscate or shut off your passport electronically, and you won't even know it. What I mean is, say for example, you haven't filed taxes for 2 or 3 years, and let's say you were filing taxes before, and let's also say if you go on the IRS's website, you can see how if you don't earn income or if your income is very low, you don't even have to file for taxes. At least that's what it says. But if you don't file and you have been filing, what the IRS can do is file a return on your behalf and then send you what they think you owe them to your last known address. And if you're an expat and you're not in the U.S. and you don't get this filing from them, you owe the money. And then not only that, you can't protest it unless it's within the 30-day limit. So after that, it becomes something you owe, and they can take away your passport. They can seize whatever assets you have left in the States. And if you happen to be traveling, or when you happen to be traveling, you're just left at the airport. They'll put your name in a computer, and then when you're traveling through whatever airport you happen to be traveling through, they'll detain you and hold you somewhere, and then probably put you on a plane to the U.S., probably Miami or Texas, unless of course you have a second passport, or unless you have a second residency and you happen to be in that country at the time it happens. Then if you have local ID, they'll probably let you go. If you don't, they won't. So these are some of the things the U.S. government's doing to kind of keep the sheep or the milk cows, if you like Doug Casey likes to say, on the farm without leaving. So my only advice is for people, if you can, buy some gold coins, store it somewhere safe or somewhere you have access to. Second, if you can, have a corporate account. And third, get to work on that second residency if you can. I'm not sure what's going to be the future, but I just think that in the future they're just going to make it harder and harder to get a legal residency, and they're putting in paperwork for when you file for let's say you're overseas and you need to get your passport renewed, or let's say you need extra pages in your passport. It used to be for 80 or 90 or $100. You just go right into the embassy and get pages, and now they're discontinuing that. You have to get a new passport, so there's no fee you can pay. You just have to go in and get a new passport. And to do that, you have to register online before you can do that. By the way, this beer is Oots Pin Pin. If you happen to be in Guatemala, check it out. Anyhow, you have to go online, set up an appointment at the embassy wherever you're at, and get your passport renewed. If you were run out of pages or if it's old, let's say you do that, it could take you a week in theory to go online and get your appointment, and it could take you 2 or 3 months to get your passport. And basically what they're doing, at least according to what Johnny's saying, what they're doing is they're going to ask a lot of questions: how you make money, how you're earning your living, things of that nature. They want to check you out, make sure you're paying your taxes. And then they have a lot of new questions now on their passport application that if you can't answer, or if you answer incorrectly, they can always use that against you at a later date. And most people can't remember when they were born and who was there and who witnesses and that kind of thing. That's the kind of questions they ask. So they're setting it up so if you lie on the application and they want to hassle you, they can. Of course, if they don't want to, they won't. But if you happen to be a very important person, they might actually do that. So what they're doing is just making it a hassle for you to expatriate out of the U.S. And they're using the IRS and the Treasury Department to kind of crack down on people who are either not paying taxes or hiding assets or businesses or income overseas. I think that's what they're trying to get at. Now, if you have a second or third passport or legal residency, they damn well know that's how you can get around that. So that's why they're making it hard for you to get that. And what they're doing is they're putting pressure on various countries in Latin America to make it harder for Americans to expat. So, excuse me, it could get to the point where if you don't have a ton of money, and you're a high net worth individual, it may be impossible. They're just not practical. So if you're looking to expat, I would say start filing the paperwork now. Uh, you won't regret it. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on the expat files and living in Latin America with Johnny Mueller. I'll put a link below, so if you haven't heard of him, check it out. All right, thanks.